I'm going to have to congratulate South Korea again for calling a spade a spade. South Korean politician blames women for rising male suicide rates. Wow. He just comes right out and says the truth. And it's not diluted by language at all. Now, this is articles written by the feminist rag BBC. So I'm going to have to translate some things into truth, right? Now it says a politician in South Korea is being criticized for making dangerous and unsubstantiated comments after linking a rise of male suicides to the increasingly dominant role of women in society. Translation: he's being bashed for saying the truth. Truth is dangerous to hate mongers, and it's not unsubstantiated. It's obvious, right? And it's not a dominant role, it's women's hostility. Women aren't just doing well for themselves. Women have always done well for themselves. They've always been taken care of. No, they're being hostile to men. In a report, Seoul City Councilor Kim Ki-duk argued women's increased participation in workforce over the years have made it harder for men to get jobs and to find women who wanted to marry them. Yes. You see, it's not women. First of all, I got to correct them here. The women aren't participating in the workforce. Go to any of these low class or hard do jobs like working in oil rigs or mining, anything that supports everything else in society. It's worked almost 100% by men. So they are not participating in the workforce. They're not. They're even going to admit that they're still working part-time jobs, right? And why? They're also admitting gender dynamics. These men want to find women to marry them. They can't afford the bride price. The women don't marry men because they like men. They have to be bribed, right? So he said, this country has recently begun to change into female-dominant society. It's always been, this is what no one recognizes. It's always been female-dominated. All societies are female-dominated. Throughout all history. There's never been a society where the women go to war, where the men stay at home and get protected. And this might be partly responsible for the increase in male suicide attempts, right? South Korea has one of the highest suicide rates among the world's rich countries. Exactly. What do I say every time? Every time that a country starts doing well for itself, it becomes prosperous and safe, the mask comes off on women. They always had despised their men, but now they can show it and they can start being openly hostile. That's what entering the workforce is all about. It's making sure that men don't get employment to make them suffer, right? And taking all the best jobs for themselves. Right? But has also one of the worst records in gender equality. It does. It has the gender inequality for men has always existed. Men have always been the ones gone to war and working in the mines and gone to sea, being alone throughout all history. And it's never been answered, right? Now, the suicide rate is based because they work their young men to death. But it's also being added to the fact that the women are now deselecting the men on top of it, right? Councilor Kim's comments have been criticized, bashed, as the latest a series of out-of-touch remarks made by male politicians. No, the male politicians are calling it out. They're not out of touch. They're being truthful. Councilor Kim from the Democratic Party, it's nice to see the Democrats actually be democratic, arrived at his assessment when analyzing data. So it's not just his opinion, is it? On a number of suicide attempts made at bridges along Seoul's Han River. Report showed that a number of suicide attempts along the river have risen from 430 in 2018 to 1,035 in 2023. So it's over doubled in just 5 years. And of those trying to take their lives, the proportions who were men had climbed from 67 to 77%. So it was already 2 out of 3 men. Now it's 3 out of 4. Why? Because men are the ones who suffer all the stress and abuse of society. The women have it easy, right? Suicide prevention experts have expressed concern over Mr. Kim's report. Yeah, your numbers are making it sound like men have an issue. We hate men. We want to bury that, right? It's dangerous and unwise to make claims like this without sufficient evidence. Dude, he just looked at stats, right? So they're claiming this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But every man can see how different society treats them towards the female population. Now look at this. He pointed out that globally, not just Korea, more men take their lives than women. See, it's obvious. See, there is no patriarchy. If there was, it wouldn't be on a global scale. In many countries, including the UK, the suicide is biggest killer of men under 50. Right, under 50. In other words, all the countries have reached a point where the women can be openly hostile to men. That's what's going on here. And men are being attacked at every level. Even so, Professor Song said reasons behind the sharp rise of men attempt suicide and Seoul need to be scientifically studied. No, it needs to be taken care of, right? Anytime someone's done an honest scientific study, it just supports what we all knew all along, each and every time, right? Like those chimp studies, they found they had female chimps and male chimps. And they found the female chimps were attracted to the dolls and the male chimps were attracted to the trucks, right? They did a study that found out we knew exactly what we knew in the first place, right? Now look at this. In South Korea, there's a substantial gulf between the number of men and women in full-time employment, with women disproportionately working temporary part-time jobs. Yeah. This feminist rag is trying to say, yeah, these women are being kept out of the workforce. And they are by themselves. They don't want to work for a living. The men have to be full-time jobs to bribe a part-time woman in them, right? So women aren't being paid less than men, they're earning less. You see, you've got always have to translate bullshit into truth from these feminist rags. BBC, you're a feminist rag, right? Appearing to echo such views, Counselor Kim's report concluded that the way to overcome the female domination phenomena was to improve in people's awareness of gender equality so that men and women can enjoy equal opportunities. Wow, this guy has it right. Men are unequal to women in society, and men's issues have to be addressed, right? Well, the first thing he addressed was that women are hostile to men. They're causing men to take their lives, right? And of course, all the Korean like simps, you know, Koreans took to social media platform Twitter to denounce the counselor's remarks as unsubstantiated and use the N-word. That's what misogynistic means, the N-word. Which one user questioning whether they were living in a parallel universe. Yeah, he's living in the parallel universe, which shows you that men are the ones that are taking the majority of their lives, attempting suicide or committing suicide, and it's global. That's what all the numbers show, but he's the one living in a parallel universe, right? The Justice Party, man, this is an oxymoron, and accused the counselor of easily shifting the blame to women in Korea's society. who are struggling to escape gender discrimination. No, the men are struggling. The men are struggling to escape gender discrimination, right? And the women are to blame. That's why he's blaming them, right? Of course, there's more bullshit, and I don't think I'm going to put you through any more of the bullshit, because you can see over and over again that BBC can't even help but admits that he's right. Women have part-time jobs because and they won't marry men if the men are earning, right? They admit to that. Anyway, I'm just ending off saying that I'm putting this article in the description box. Share it with people, right? We got to share these because it doesn't get out otherwise. Even these feminist lying pieces of crap from the BBC can't entirely, cover this over. The truth comes out one way or the other. Okay, we'll end it here.